Thank you all for coming to meet Mr. Alston. Thank you, Arthur, for organizing this conversation and the number of volunteers who make this gathering possible. A special thanks goes to Dr. Savion Cohen, whose efforts to keep the community informed and fight racism are very much welcome. Arthur is a longtime truth teller, civil rights activist. He is currently serving as the president of the Town Meeting Members Association and is a long-time town meeting member. Some of you know me. I feel like many don't. My name is Mariela Ames. I am a board member of the nonprofit Brookline Justice League, which has been providing Gerald Alston with pro bono legal representation. I met Gerald back in 2013 when he was struggling to get heard by Brookline officials about the unfair situation in the fire department. A few people of color, including Arthur, myself, and a few others, were genuinely interested in addressing issues of race in Brookline. In my case, since the late 2000s, Arthur much before. After stiff resistance, we managed to get a diverse membership appointed to the then Civil Rights Commission. And I thought improvements and looking in the mirror could take place from within the town's government. When we learned about the complaint of discrimination in the fire department and tried to get information, we were discouraged by staff and town officials from pursuing it. So as an individual, I placed a call to the fire department and asked to speak with firefighter Gerald Alston. He, rightfully so, was hesitant to speak with me, a woman with an accent he had never heard of, but he talked to me. And from that brief conversation, it was clear that he was going through a great deal of pain, disappointment, and frustration. When it became clear we would not be allowed to address civil rights matters within the town, again, I, along with several other members, including this time my husband, Bruce Ames, whom I persuaded to join the then Civil Rights Commission, we resigned in much frustration. A year or so later, the Brookline Justice League was created to do what we were not allowed to do from within. We have been with Gerald through ups and downs, including his unfair termination by the town in 2016. This year, we were enormously validated by the decision issued by an independent third party, a white civil service commissioner appointed by Republicans to reinstate Gerald to the fire department. The decision was unanimously approved by the entire Civil Service Commission. And this was based on evidence presented and direct testimony of over 11 witnesses put forth by the town and 3 by Gerald. Of course, there's so much more to Gerald Alston than this case. You may not know, for example, that he's an accomplished singer and was a member of a group with a Billboard 100 hit. Or while battling the town, he had to also fight cancer. And some of you may know that Gerald suffered another blow not too long ago, the passing away of his mom. And yet here he is, showing us yet another level of strength and resilience. Thank you, Gerald. So we're here in the hopes that you get to know him, hear directly from him, and have the chance to answer questions that you may have. Before I turn the microphone to Arthur and Gerald, please allow me to first acknowledge Gerald's dad, who was here. And Gerald's brother, Mark. Thank you so much. I also want to welcome the presence of Select Board Raul Hernandez, who has spoken about racism, and I appreciate that, and we all do. And again, as I was just saying not too long ago, I appreciate asking tough questions, challenging what doesn't feel right. Anyway, my point is, if we don't speak up, nothing changes. Gerald and Arthur, the floor is yours.
Before we start this, I also need to acknowledge my son, Gerald Alston Jr.
Yay.
And what a lot of you don't realize is that I have another family. The class of '87 from Natick High School, the entire class is my family. And my brother, Dan Skinner, and his family is in the building. So I needed to do that.
Anybody else? Good evening, again, Arthur Conquest. I want to start off by just saying 3 words. Do the right thing. All right? Do the right thing. We've got to get this thing straightened out. I've been here since 1982, and at some point, before I leave this earth, I'm not going anyplace. I'm not moving. I'm in good health. Right? Do the right thing. So I'd like to start off. I want you to get to know Gerald Alston. Gerald Alston, the human being. We're dealing with a human being. And I had a chance I think it was Monday, Gerald and I sat down to go over the questions. He's a better man than I am. I'm telling you. Okay, what a great human being. Very, very powerful, compassionate, okay, sincere, empathetic human being. We sat for an hour in the park. And I can honestly tell you that he has a sense and a feeling and a respect for people as human beings. So my first question, Gerald, so that the public that's present, where did Gerald Alston start? Were you born in Stowe, Vermont? Where did it all start?
Okay, Arthur, listen. All right, Earth. Earth. We had this conversation the other day. I was born in Boston. Raised by 2 fairly young parents. As you know, you don't get instructions when it comes to raising kids. So everything they did was trial and error. But I grew up in a strong, very, very united family. It was not easy. I can tell you there's plenty of days we never eat. Struggling to eat, but we, as a family, made it through. So, you know, that's where I originated from. Roxbury area.
Before I move on, I'm sorry. I just want to recognize, because he's one of my heroes and he just walked in.
Mine too.
Julian Houston. I know I saw him. Julian. You stand up there for a second, Honorable.
Honorable.
Absolutely. Can you stand up, Judge Houston, please, just for a second?
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Gerald, brothers, sisters?
3 sisters, 2 brothers. I have 3, well, an older sister, 2 older brothers, and then 2 younger sisters.
All alive?
All alive, all doing well. All just as crazy as me.
Okay. Elementary school, junior high school, Medco?
Well, yeah, I went to Boston Public Schools, Dr. K. East Boston. But at one point, my mother didn't want to keep the 3 brothers together. We were a little crazy. That's a whole other story. So I ended up going to Mecca, Natick. Went to the Kennedy Junior High. And from there, to Natick High. It was not a shock to me because my mother and my dad made it a point that we never saw anybody different than us. But I think it was a shock to Natick. I mean, we would get questions like, I don't know if you remember this question, Dan. A person got shot in Roxbury. I go to school the next day. Dan goes, "Hey, was that your brother? Was he your neighbor?" But it wasn't because he was being rude. He just didn't know. So I took the entire high school year to just almost teach, take away those stereotypes. So we talked. If there was a question that he was unsure of, I always made it a point to tell Dan, no questions are dumb questions. So, and even if you ask about, just the things that society puts in our heads regarding African American and young black men. So I never took any question that Dan asked me personal. It was a teaching moment. But I loved it. I loved being in Natick. I enjoyed being in Natick. When I say that is my second family, it's my second family. We had our issues, but we solved our problems as a unit. Great bunch of great people. Great people. I love being in there.
Did you, when I went to high school, Vander Charles High School, I swam on the swimming team. Did you, what sport did you play? Or did you play a sport, or?
I played football. Was in an entertainment class with David Skinner. We created a commercial, Duracell commercial. You got that commercial?
I still have it.
You still got a Duracell commercial? And I was also in theater. My first time doing a play, I was in a play called Little Mary Sunshine. I thought that was kind of crazy, but I mean, I did it. And then my senior year in high school, I was in the play The King and I played the King in The King and I, which was amazing.
The King and I, the play itself?
Played The King and I, yeah, it was amazing. And like I said, my family from Natick showed up at every show. The students showed up at every show. It was a good feeling. I mean, I knew my parents would be there. But to know that these guys, the football players, basketball players, cheerleaders, the nerds, the goths.
The what?
Goths. They're all black. Everyone showed up. And we really didn't separate ourselves. And I don't know if it was because of because I made friends with everybody, it didn't matter to me. But there was something different about our class. But yeah, they showed up to every performance.
Did you graduate?
Yep, graduated in 1987. After graduation, I did little odds and ends here and there. But like I said, I'm from a musical background. My uncles were in a group called the Ambitions for years. I love music, and I started pursuing a singing career.
Solo?
No, I was in a separate group at one time. I don't even remember the name of the first group. But then I met up with some other guys. The group was called Main Event. Did a lot of shows around Boston. A little history lesson. We performed at a talent show that producer Maury Starr was having. And the winners were supposed to sign a contract with him. And we won. But Maurice already had a group in mind, the New Edition. So what he said was, I'll come back to you guys later. He made a promise, and he did. But people will tell you that we beat the New Edition in establishment. Little history lesson.
So that was the beginning of your sort of entertainment career?
Yes,
Your
yes it was.
singing career?
As far as being professional, yes.
And did that take you, was that your first foray out of Roxbury in terms of, I know you went to Natick, but did you go like, let's say, to Pittsburgh, or did you go to?
Well, Pittsburgh, jeez. All over the United States.
Okay.
Went overseas. We did tour with the New Kids, open up during the Magic Summer Tour. It took me to places that I read about. Took me to places that I seen in books. But this music career showed me that Roxbury is very small. Boston is very small. So it was an amazing experience. We got to perform at President Clinton's inauguration, which I thought was amazing. Ran into a lot of people. It took us a lot of places. Let's just put it that way.
Give me one thing you learned going to those lot of places.
You know, sometimes when you are feeling like you're in a comfortable place, you think that where you are is it. But what I learned was we have to expand, not just our minds, just what we see in life. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. But there is so much more than Boston. There is so much more than Brooklyn. And if we don't take that step, we're going to be stuck. You think you have problems? I've been to Haiti. You don't know problems. Don't get down on yourself because you can't have an iPhone or can't afford the shoes. There's so much more out there. We are spoiled in a big way. And unless you travel beyond your comfort zone, you'll never get it. Expand your mind. That's what we all need to do, and that's what it did. It helped me, get out of my comfort zone and help me expand my mind.
Okay, so let me try to move this forward because I don't. Where did you end off with the entertainment world? When did that all come to a conclusion, and you had to say, now I've got to look at what the next stage of my life is going to look like?
Well, what people don't understand is the music industry is a very difficult industry to be in. A great industry, let's not get it wrong, but you have to have the right representation, you have to have the right people around you, because it can destroy it. And it's pretty much what happened with us. we were offered a deal. Michael Eisner was the president of Disney and offered, was a good friend of mine, I still have his phone number. I don't call him. Hey, what's up, man? You cook out? I don't do that. But he wanted to change how things were, so he was willing to be the management company of the group while Maurice Starr was part of just doing the label. And I think greed came into play because he offered a great deal of money for us to come over. And it was told to me that the reason why it never actually happened was because Maurice kept changing the amount. I don't want to throw a number out, the final number, but it was pretty big. And Michael Eisner said, I just can't do it. So that was the beginning of the end. Everything started to fall apart. Greed plays a big part. And I knew after that, I had children, that I had to stop and I had to provide for my family.
And so, did you take, what made you say the fire department?
Well, actually, before the fire department, I was driving the Green Line. I was driving the Green Line.
Okay, oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Driving the Green Line. I'm sorry. I was driving the Green Line. And I took the fire exam at the same time. And while I was driving, I had the offer from Brookline. Now, mind you, I have family members who are firefighters. My wife's uncle, Fred Ellis, is on the, well, he retired from the Boston Fire Department, ASVAB team. And at the same time, I was considering being a police officer because of my uncle, well, I call him uncle, was, Charles Scoresby, was the deputy superintendent at the time. But the fire department came in first, and I knew this was not a job, it was an actual career. So I took it, not really knowing what to expect. But let me tell you, within the first year, I knew that I wanted to be a firefighter, just because it brought me in contact with the public. I was helping people. Now, I had friends and family members that were saying to me, why would you take a job as a firefighter in Brooklyn? You know what Brooklyn's like. And I do. Growing up, it was not nice. But I took it upon myself to go to Brookline because I changed me growing up. A lot of negative traits, a lot of situations I should have never been in. But as you grow, you mature, you change. And I would tell them, there's no way Brookline is the same way it was back then. It's just not. And a few people say, we'll see. And I didn't do that. I took it upon myself to see for myself. And the unfortunate part about it is, Brookline has not changed. The people, certain residents may have changed, but the authority has not changed. It's like living in a twilight zone. That's what's sad about it. I took it upon myself to see if there was change, and I felt like it was. Maybe that, okay, I'm not gonna say maybe. I was very naive, but I love being in Brooklyn. I love being a firefighter in Brooklyn.
Give me your most powerful or your most appreciative experience. Did you go into a burning house or some other facility where you had to rescue a family of 3 from a building that was about to collapse?
How much time again? I'm just saying,
Yeah, okay.
that was
Give me one.
we did it.
Give me one.
Let me give you one
Okay.
thing that happened to me. It didn't have to do with fire. I had just finished getting my AMT license, and my lieutenant at the time, Lieutenant Bender, said, all the medicals we get, Alston, I'm gonna give to you. You're the man now. Okay, no problem. But we get a call of a woman in labor. We pull on, I'm not gonna go into detail as far as street violence is concerned. Now, even the person, because if I mention, I'm pretty sure a lot of you know who he is. When we get there, the guy comes running to me and he's like, I don't know what to do. She's screaming, you know, you gotta help me. So, Lieutenant Penn up, you're up. So I get it, open the back door. We have these suits that we put on. And she just threw her legs up. And the lieutenant's like, oh geez, she walks away. A couple other guys like, what's going on? So the father's standing next to me. And before I can say anything, the child cried. And I said, tell the lieutenant to give me the medical bag. And when I looked, the guy was knocked out, laid out. I just passed out. Needless to say, the baby was delivered. The mother was very, very grateful. And the child's middle name is Gerald. There was many other things that happened, but that was one that stuck with me. And it made me want to be just part of this life even more.
How about that? Let me go back to Roxbury, if I can, and your personal life. You introduced your son.
Yeah.
But so you were married?
Yes. I was married. But I was very, I was a wild child, let's just put it that way. I have 7 kids.
Children.
7 children. My wife, I ended up adopting her daughter when she was 7. My son Gerald, the 3rd. My daughter Aaliyah, who is my stepdaughter, she's my daughter. We don't believe in stepdaughters. Tiara. And I have twin boys, Ben and Sam. Amari, and then Tatiana. But yeah, I was married to Sabina for a long time. Great marriage. I'd like to, like I said, you don't get an instruction manual or something to tell you how to be a married man. But I took a lot of how my dad did things and I used it in what I had. One thing about my dad is he has no filter. When I mean no filter, don't ask him a question that you don't want to know the truth about. And I respected that from day one. We butted heads a lot, but I respected what he said. Great marriage. Unfortunately, we ended up getting a divorce. I have to attribute a lot of it to me. One of the things I taught my kids growing up was never, ever, ever let another person dictate your attitude. Because if you do, you're no longer yourself, you're them. But what I did was allow the powers that be in Brooklyn dictate my attitude. I was angry, lashing out, didn't really talk to my wife that much. And like I said, I'm not even going to blame the town because I should have been smart enough and strong enough not to allow that situation to dictate my attitude, and it did. We ended up getting a divorce, but we're best friends. One of the things that I learned that was taught was when you're in a relationship, if you break up, the worst thing that can come out of a relationship is a friendship. And the friendship's not bad. You know, people would say to me, what do you mean by that? But what I mean is, your wife or your husband should be your best friend. And if they can't be, then the marriage is not right. And she was a friend. And to this day, we're still best friends.
Were you and I know being a firefighter or being a policeman is a very, very taxing occupation, because in the fire department's situation, you're like on duty with your other family, right? You gotta stay at that fire station. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We work 24 hours on and we have 3 days off.
But that means that, you know, if something happened at home, you couldn't just say to the fire department or to your other family, well, look, I gotta go check out this thing.
Well, no. In some instances, maybe.
Yeah.
But overall, no. But I trusted my wife. See, we weren't in a, you know, I'm the man of the house type of marriage. We were a unit. So we learned things from each other. So I was not worried about whether or not my wife could handle certain situations, because I trusted that she could.
But what about the relationship that you had with your children? In other words, if you were at the fire station and your children were at school, my mother, when I was growing up, had to go to school once a month for a parent-teacher conference.
Let me explain something to you.
Okay.
My dad was unconventional. So there was no set time for him to come to the school. He would just show up.
That's right.
I mean, as a parent, that's what you should be able to do, just show up. Because if I knew, and I was terrible, if I knew he was coming, I would be a different person. My dad would just show up. It was an incident. Well, there was plenty of instances. I'm not even going to that. Where on this particular day, I had to go to the bathroom, and the teacher said, yeah, I would just walk around through the hallways. I knocked on the door of the library and ran. Guess who I ran into? I ran into my dad. So when it came to my children, that's how I was. They never knew when I was going to show up. They never knew when I was going to pop up. So that made it easier for me. So when I was away at the firehouse, they didn't know whether or not I was going to take an hour or two off and show up at someone's school. So they never, even though we had issues, my children were never over the top. So I never really had to worry about that.
You take your children to the Red Sox games?
No. I couldn't afford that. What are you talking about? I took my children to the back where they built this new park with the new playground. I took them there.
Okay.
Listen, we didn't do a lot of that. One of the things that we did incorporate in our situation was when I had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. That was me and my wife's time. So we would, go away, spend a weekend somewhere. When I had a Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, that was children's time. So we would pick something to do. One of the good times that I enjoyed having with my son was taking him to visit colleges. It was a road trip. Long road trip, but it was a road trip. And it was great because we had a chance to talk. We had a chance to just communicate. We were not, because my family was not an atypical family. My mother,
Take your time. Take your time.
my mom, growing up, was part of this thing called the Women's Unite Group. where she had a bunch of friends that were fighting for women's rights. So we had people around us all the time. We would go with them sometimes on these marches. We would have people at the house. She was different. My dad was the ultimate, in my opinion, provider. See, I didn't want to be Michael Jordan. I didn't want to be Emmett Smith. I didn't want to be Michael Jackson because I love music. I wanted to be my dad because of the things that he did. He was not perfect. Didn't have a lot of money. But he would always find a way for us to have fun. Blizzard of '78, snow everywhere. I don't know if you remember this part. My dad, there was a bunch of snow pulled on Howard Ave. My dad dug a hole through the snow that we played.
A tunnel.
A tunnel. Things like that. He would, for instance, we always found a way to laugh and smile. So we would have these things called food fights, water fights, shoe fights, cool fights. And the person who always started these things was my dad. Always. So it was that type of atmosphere. And that's pretty much how I was around, around my children. But when it comes to my mom, she I want to ask, first of all, I need you to understand something, people. Forgive me. I have not mourned for my mom. I have not cried for my mom. Every time I feel it coming up, it wouldn't be tears, it would be anger. And there was so much that should have been done beforehand that wasn't. I can't place the blame on anyone. I can't. But she will not be here to see the end of this. See, my dad was angry about what was going on with me. But my mother was hurt. So although I need to cry, I can't because I'm angry. I have a choice. Do I direct this anger in a negative way? My mother wouldn't want that. I'm going to direct it in a positive way. And I can guarantee each and every one of you out there, when this is over, things will be different. And I'm going to say this again, and I've said it on several occasions. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about people like my son. It's about my nephews. It's about your kids, your grandkids. Do you want them to be in this environment? See, if they would have done this a long time ago, I wouldn't be here. I got a job to do.
That's right.
You know what I'm talking to. You have a job to do. And if you're not going to do that job, don't be here. Because you become the problem. All you residents of Brookline, you put these people in this place. You voted them in. Why allow them to tell you what to do? Don't be a sheep. Don't just put them there and lay back and allow them to destroy your town. Fix it. You voted them in. You can vote them out. Don't let them lie to you like they've been doing about me from day one. and you, okay? And until there's a change, this is how it's gonna be. I am more than thankful that all of you are here. But I'll be more than disappointed if you don't do something. Don't do it for Gerald Alston. Do it for you. I mean, we all have a decision to make, whether we want to or not. This fight will never be over until you can look at me and say to me, just like I would say to you, I would love to change my life for your life for 1 week. When you can look at me and say to me, I would love to change my life with your life for 1 day, then it's fixed. Let's not do it, okay? There's been so many things said about me that is wrong, that is negative. There's been so many things that have been said about the town of Brookline that I'm looking at now that is wrong and negative. I want people to understand, stop blaming the residents. But I want the residents to understand, you put these people in. It's about working together. I didn't want to be here today. Even though we put this together, I woke up today, I had a good day, a song came on the radio that reminded me of my mother, and I said, I'm not going. But that changed. You know why? I can't be mad at y'all. You didn't look at me and say, Gerald, I don't want you to go back to work. I'm fine. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. But the people you put in office did. Come on. If you had a multi-million-dollar business and you hired a president to run your business and they told you what to do, what are you going to do? You're going to say, okay, it's your business. This is yours, man. This is your life. Come on. I don't think the residents of Brookline are bad. I don't think the fire department is bad, nor the police department, nor any other department. None. But there are cancerous people in these departments. There are cancerous residents sitting, standing, walking next to you that need to be removed. We need to remove those cancerous cells. And it won't be better. That's what it takes. Not a bad person. Not. Do I make mistakes? Yeah. But it's not about the mistakes you make. It's about what you do after that determines who you are. So those of you in the audience that made the mistake of thinking I'm somebody I'm not, you have an opportunity to fix that. I mean, what if I was your child? I'm not telling you to look at the skin, to color my skin. I'm asking you a serious question. What if I was your child? What would you do? What if it was you? What would you do? Brookline is a heavy, has a strong Jewish community. Very strong. I would never try to put myself in the position of knowing what it's like to have family members lost in the Holocaust. I wouldn't do that. I know what it's like to have family members lost in the streets. But if you know your history, you know that when it started, people knew and did nothing about it. We can change. No, we can. It's just, do you want to? Stop walking around with blinders on. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. You know what the truth is. Don't be afraid. Just like Dan was not afraid to ask me about black men, black people, murders in Boston, you know, don't be afraid. Ask the question. I don't think an African-American man or woman, if you ask them a serious question, they're gonna punch you in the face. They're not. You gotta answer that question. The problem starts with you. Don't be blind, don't be naive. Take the blinders off. Speak. And if you don't know something and you're unsure, ask the question. Don't allow what these people in power are doing to make everyone out there look like that's who they are. Because I don't think you are. As a matter of fact, I know you're not. You wouldn't be here if you were thinking like the people who are running the town. You wouldn't be here. My heart hurts, man. It hurts bad. Guys are smarter than that.
Stay in the church.
I apologize for straying, but I need for you to understand something. I need for the residents down in Brooklyn to understand something, okay? This is your town. It's not the board's town. It's not the legal department's town. It's not the town administrator's town. It's your town. Come on. Do better. People told me, don't be a firefighter in Brookline because of, we know why. And I took it anyway, thinking there was going to be a change. And I looked like a fool, not because of you guys, because of people you put in power. See, united, there's nothing that board can do to you. Just one individual starts to weigh on the other side of the fence, it's over. Let's prove everybody wrong, man. Everybody. A friend of mine is a firefighter from Boston, Salih. Stand up, Salih. You know what Salih said to me? He said, you're a powerful brother, man. You're better than me. I respect that, man. Trust that, man. Let's prove that man something different. Let's show him that this is not who Brookline is. Change his mind. This is what I'm asking. And I can guarantee you, none of you have been through what that man has been through. Coming through this town. For what? What? I said it before, it's not about me. A part of it is about something. Show him something different. Because right now I look like an idiot. But I'm supporting and I'm being positive and I'm here for the residents of Brookline.
That's right.
I'm here for y'all. Running the fires for y'all. I don't even know y'all. But what I do know is y'all are human beings. Come on. Thank you, Salih.
Thank you, brother. Mike, before you leave, I just want to introduce Mike Offner. He is the gentleman that filed the warrant article which asks the town and town meeting members, what was the vote, Brooks, I'm sorry, 111?
That's fine.
Mike, what was the vote for?
It was 2-1 in favor, so 111 to like 50 something.
But I just want to recognize Mike for his courageous steps to file that warrant article.
Thank you. I have this issue where, and don't take it personal, where I get this angry and touching me is like an electric shock. Shake my hand, okay? You wanna hug somebody? When you get home, hug your kids, man. That's what you need to hug. Right? I appreciate you more than you know. Okay? Thank you, all right?
Thank you, Mike.
Take that energy, send it along to everybody else, man, okay? All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
You guys may think I'm on the wrong road here, but I'm going to take it anyway. What has Brooks and Mariella Ames meant to you?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let me explain. I'll give you.
Is that okay, please? Can you
understandings.
answer that?
When I was going through what I was going through with the town of Brooklyn, I didn't trust anybody. Everyone, the authority, the people I thought that would support me, lied. Mariella, and I need to apologize to you again. When she called me, I cussed her out. I didn't hold back. I told her exactly how I felt. She listened. She didn't judge. When I met Brooks, I looked him in the eye and I said, let me tell you something, man. If you are not going to follow through to the end, if you're going to shake a little bit, I don't want to be balling. I ain't hold back. See, they're both still here. I appreciate them more than they know. See, there are people, whether you want to believe it or not, see, I know a lot of things, I hear a lot of things. There are people in the town of Brookline that have negative things to say about them. They're not happy about what they're doing. Why not? We are great people. This organization that they have, the Brookline Justice League, needs to continue. You guys, please support them. They're incredible. And I respect you and I thank you. I love you guys. Thank you.
I want to read, if I can, a letter that Gerald sent to the fire chief. Right? Fire chief?
Fire chief.
This is back in 2010. This is the very beginning, and I think residents of Brookline need to hear this letter. July 26, 2010. Dear Sir, I'm writing this letter to inform you of some things that are causing me a lot of pain, both mentally and emotionally. Unfortunately, I was injured on the job recently, an injury that really scared me. I received several phone calls from some of my fellow firefighters, not only from my station, but from other stations. On Sunday, May 30th, I received a call from my lieutenant. I didn't get to the phone in time to answer it and went to voicemail. My wife later checked my phone and heard something, and he puts it all in caps. Very disturbing. Unaware that his phone did not hang up, I overheard a partial sentence between the person and someone else use a derogatory statement that caused me to lose all of my respect for him. I have received a few phone calls from him. The first call, he admitted that he used a derogatory word and apologized for it. He also went on to explain the reason why he used the word, which still did not make sense to me. Then I received another call from him with a different explanation as to why that specific word was used. I expressed to him that there was no reason why he should have used that word. After doing so, he made a statement saying that this was a little funny to him and almost like a joke. I told him that I didn't think it was funny. Then he went on to ask me if I was trying to take his job. He was pushing the blame back on me. At that point, I no longer wanted to continue with the conversation. I felt like he really didn't want to own up to it, and he wasn't taking me serious. I'm not sure how to resolve this, but I know it must, and this is all in capitals, it must be taken care of ASAP. I kept the message and would like for the chief of the department, the union, and anyone else that should be present at the time of this meeting. This is a very touchy and sensitive issue, and I would like to resolve the matter without any public interference. I sincerely hope that we can work out a way that would be satisfying to all of us. I would also like to discuss how we can prevent this from happening to anyone else in the future. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, Gerald Alston.
2010.
2010.
It was 2010.
And the only
I didn't want the media involved.
the only reason that I'm that Gerald wants this read, and I think it's significant. All the lies that have been told. This is the first time that Gerald has had a chance to speak to you in public. Now, I know that we have read, or some of you have read, the 83-page report, and that obviously has revealed some of the truth. This is 2010. One last thing, because I'm going to open it up to Q&A. Cruz called me last August. All right? Cruz and I were homeboys from the hood, 112th Street and 3rd Avenue, East Harlem. Cruz calls me and says, Arthur, let's go to Gerald's hearing downtown. Am I right, Cruz? Yep. Okay. I said, okay. You the homeboy? I'm going with you. We get downtown. They wouldn't let me in. They kept me downstairs, but eventually I got in. But I went to that hearing the first day. was shocked. The first thing, Savion was there. I was shocked. Because it was the first time that I heard the truth. And I went every day thereafter, bowled over by what I heard. And on the 10th day, I came home and wrote a letter to the Board of Select Persons, to the Select Board, telling them what I heard, okay, and how they needed to tell the truth to the public. It's wrong what they've been doing for the last 7 years. And it's even wrong what they're doing. It brings tears to my eyes, what they're doing going forward. This nonsense that just happened with this special counsel. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And it shouldn't be. It's happening on your watch while you're alive. It's going to affect your children. I'm sorry, I apologize. Can we do a question and answer? Is anybody, Cruz? You can take one of these microphones if you can. 111th Street between Lexington and Park Avenue, East Harlem.
I live in Brooklyn.
Does anyone have a question for Gerald?
Any questions?
Mr. Alston, my name is Michael Burstein. I'm a town meeting member and a library trustee here in town. I just want to thank you for coming out tonight. That's basically it.
I appreciate it, but I think I should be thanking you. And let me tell you why. You're here. A lot of people are not. So, I appreciate it, but I should be thanking you.
I also noticed there's a lot of people not here who I think should be here. And there are things I could tell you and stories I could say, but I don't think you need to hear them from me.
Let's stay positive. Let's stay positive.
Right back here.
Being a black male in America, where positions of authority and leadership positions have the, let's say, privilege to discipline anybody under them, but taking 9 years for an apology, what does that say about the state of America?
Well, you know what? Let's do this, okay? We have to understand something. And I said it in the beginning. Okay? It's not everybody. We have to get rid of that cancer. There's something that I bet all of you know. The #1 terrorist group in the United States is who?
White males.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Cancer. So to answer your question, how does it make me feel? It makes me feel like we need to stop walking around with these blinders and fix it. You know, you just answered the question. I can't fix that. You can. Black America can't fix it. We can't. If we get the support of white America, then there will be no division. Stop acting like you want to see a change, but then you don't do anything about it. You don't want to see a change if you're not going to do nothing about it. Don't. We are not here to hold hands and sing kumbaya. If you want to do that, go to camp. We're here for the truth. Look in the mirror for once. And if you don't have the truth in your heart, heart don't. I don't need sympathy and help to make this go away. That's how I feel, man. We need a change.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Susan Houston, and I'm very grateful that Raul Fernandez has been voted in to join the board of our select board. And so I'd like to actually pose a question to Mr. Fernandez in terms of what you see going forward with the kind of the town authorities, if you're able to comment on that, with respect to Mr. Alston's situation.
Would that be okay?
Oh yeah, I want to hear you.
Okay.
Hey everybody, Raul Fernandez, I'm on the select board. I'll say first of all, thank you Arthur for organizing this, and thank you Gerald for being willing to share not just your story about what happened here, but your life story. I think is really important for all of us to hear. And I'm sort of tearing up hearing some of what you have to say. What I think what Mr. Alston says is true is that there's a matter of reconciling this particular your case, but then there's the larger issue of what we're going to do in this town. I think in terms of the larger issue, just yesterday, some of you may have seen there was a hearing in Congress around reparations. Yeah. And I do encourage you. I got a chance to watch the whole thing. And I encourage you to watch the entire thing, not just like Ta-Nehisi Coates' really amazing words, but there were some other really amazing moments in that too that I encourage you to check out. I think we've got to move from a place as a town where we are putting out fires and addressing issues as they come up to a place of really trying to envision what kind of community we really want to be. And really thinking about, forward thinking, in particular about how we're going to address the nagging historic inequities that continue to be with us and have been with us for, at this point now, hundreds of years and even more. And that in doing so, we've got to really start to think about what is our role as a town, as a relatively wealthy town, that is, in my estimation, not doing its part. And it's not doing its part for the residents of Brookline, but it's also not doing its part for everyone who lives around Brookline as well, and that we could be doing so much more. So someone asked me earlier, what might that look like in Brookline, and thinking about things like more affordable housing and access to home ownership for people of color in Brookline, expanding opportunities for people in Metco in Brookline, would also look like more preferential access to jobs for people of color here in Brookline, and also the way that we spend money in terms of our contracts and making sure that those are going to Black-owned, minority-owned businesses here in Brookline too. And the list goes on and on and on. The challenge is great, but it is not insurmountable, and we can actually rise to that challenge. I think Gerald's comments about the need to elect more people that agree and match with these values is really important. And that's the way that our town works and our structure works. And I said this on the campaign trail, is you are electing one person who is the rookie member on a 5-person board, and if you want to see the kind of change that I was talking about all in the campaign, and for those of you that voted for me, if you want to see that kind of change, you need to come out next year again, and the year after that again, and again, and again, until we actually have a progressive board that doesn't have to be convinced that at the very minimum an apology is warranted, and even more so that we have to do our best to try to make you as whole as possible. And beyond that, we have to address these issues in the town. And anyone who wants to do that, I want to work with you to make it happen. Thanks.
Thank you.
I think it's the funniest backhand compliment to you that they have brought in this expensive person to review everything and try to undo everything. In my many years, and it's kind of a joke here that I'm the person who goes to all the meetings, and for 19 years I have never seen one complainant go as far as you've gone, let alone as far as you appear to be heading. That makes you incredibly important. They have to make an example out of you, or who else will come and say, I'm not quitting, I'm going to get justice. And I think that's a very heavy burden for you, and we're all very grateful to you for going this far, because nobody knows better than I what it's like to be the person who says the emperor has no clothes. And that applied also to Mike Goffner, who took a lot of abuse in doing this, and hopefully that he got some support from us at the meetings so that he knew he wasn't alone. It is not easy to be where you are, but I've never seen anybody go as far as you have. They usually settle, they go away, they sign non-disclosure agreements, and you never hear from them again, because part of it is not just non-disclosure, it's non-collaboration. They're not allowed to volunteer anything. So thank you for going this far. Whatever we can do to continue to support you, because this really is a pivotal moment in the definition of who Brookline is, and I've been in town nearly 55 years. So I've seen, I understand, and thank you.
Feels funny asking you questions, Gerald. I call you all the time. We have these conversations all the time. My name again is Solly Rowe. I'm a 17-year Boston firefighter. I'm also going through an issue, again, keeping square focus on my brother Gerald. But just in interest of disclosure, kind of wanted to let people understand how systemic this is. 17 years, 18 years on Boston. This is par for the course. I'll give you a quick example. There's a case right now. Anybody can go to the Boston Civil Service Commission website. You'll get to see the cases that they're hearing, and then the commissioner's decisions. Right now, a case, excuse me, where a firefighter, I won't reveal his name even though you can go on the website and see it for yourself, is currently fighting for his, Boston firefighter, currently fighting for his position back. He was terminated earlier this year in February for his second offense of calling a fellow firefighter the N-word. First time, a couple years ago, the current Boston Fire Commissioner, Joseph L. Finn, because it's a gang of Finns on Boston Fire. Right, you got to specify, a lot of Finns. Was the deputy. He's commissioner now, and the hierarchy is firefighter, lieutenant, captain, district chief, deputy chief, then appointed positions by the mayor. Was deputy chief at the time this firefighter had first offended someone. The discipline was to transfer him to another firehouse. He was transferred to the firehouse. Anybody been on Hanover Street? It's big in Boston. It's a firehouse very popular down there with all of the Hanoverites. So he was transferred down there, came in, this is the second time, came in intoxicated, off duty, came in again, did it to another black firefighter again, called him the N-word. This time, he was terminated. This happened to you once. Look at what you're going through. This firefighter has the nerve, the temerity, to feel like he has a foundation to get his job back. And he's fighting right now. Gerald, there was a time in between that letter that Brother Arthur read and the time when you were finally let go. I'd like you to kind of explain, draw a picture for us, for those that don't understand what, even though first responders, there's some commonalities in the things that we do, but firehouse culture is very unique, particularly for black firefighters, and that's something else. And in fact, I'm also a former vice president of the Boston Society of Vulcans, which is the black union, if you will, for firefighters. Even though we have Latino members, we don't use the term minorities. We do not use the term firefighters of color. Why? Because the fights that we fight, women are minorities, is that correct? The only women that fight for what we fight for are black. There are Asians are people of color. When we have to fight for what we have to fight for, the Asians are on the other side. So we have to be very specific in our terminology as well as our movements. And that may seem divisive, not when you're in the fight. And Gerald, you know all too well. Paint a picture for us, brother, if you will. 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, between the time of the offense and the time of when you let go of the discipline. What did it take for you to have to go back into that snake pit every day and have to fight, not only for what everybody else had to worry about? Brother Arthur talked about what it takes for us to respond to emergency situations and mitigate those. But that's only like 10, 20% of what we have to do of our time in the firehouse. Paint a picture for us, brother, if you will.
Well, you know what we're taught every day is it's a brotherhood. In training, you have to rely on your fellow firefighters to be there in some real scary situations. To know. Now, let me do this. On several occasions, I would go to the firehouse and no one would talk to me. Oh, they wouldn't even acknowledge me. They wouldn't even acknowledge that I was in the building. And these people, I have to rely on to be there for me in a fire. That's right. See, I don't push paper. Okay? I don't look at a computer all day. But I had to trust that these people were going to be there for me. I had a family at home. Loving wife, kids, my parents, my brothers. But I got up. I went to work and I did my job. Not knowing whether or not there was going to be a fire and I was going to make it home. See, the problem was on me, it was with them. I don't think anyone in this room has ever felt that kind of fear. And I did it for several years. And the board lied to you and said if it was that bad, he wouldn't have came to work. I gotta take care of my family, man. Mm-hmm. I gotta take care of my family. I took this fire thing serious. They didn't. I was scared to death, but I did it. Because that's who I am. I'm a Brookline firefighter. He's a Boston firefighter. And our job can't be compromised. That's right. Our job cannot be half-assed. Excuse my language, but you can't step in there and be somewhere else. And my mind, on several occasions, was somewhere else. But I always revert back to who I am. I was a firefighter. I had a job to do. Not easy, but I did it. Your Honor, First time's you're rising, right? So please give him a round of applause. I love this man. Absolutely.
First of all, I want to congratulate firefighter Alston for the sacrifices that he's made that have brought him to this point. It's not easy to obtain justice, and you're to be congratulated for having done that.
Yes.
I also want to congratulate the moderator, my old friend, and I mean old. Brownie. For that's how far back we go. For standing by firefighter Alston and standing by the principle of justice, even though it's not easy. Thank you both for your contribution.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hold on one second.
Right here.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, and there are a few of us here who are in town meeting. I want you to know. We are not the bad guys, but we are perhaps among some bad guys. So I want to say that. The next thing is I deeply thank you. Deeply. I feel like the courage that you have lived all these years, and even the courage right now to be speaking with us. Thank you. I admire that in you immensely. The question that I wanted to ask you is, through this horrendous ordeal, what has sustained you? What has kept you sane? Yeah.
Need the microphone. Thank you.
What has sustained?
You. Yeah.
Dad, stand up. Mark, stand up. Gerald, stand up. Dan, stand up. Salih, stand up. That's a family. That's a family that you just cannot overlook. There were times where I went crying to my dad. Before I started to do this, I said, what do you think? I said, well, stuff. You want to do it? Yeah, I'll do it. I said, you sure? I said, yeah, I'm sure. All right, do it. And I did. There were times I would go to my dad in tears, and he would look me in my face and say, you decided to do this. Is it right or is it wrong? They had me questioning me. But if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for my extended family, Dan, Salih, do I think I would have survived it? No. So many others before me just didn't. I can't be angry with them because I don't know what their family structure was like, what their support system was like. Let me explain my support system. In the process of me seeking justice, if God forbids something happens to me, you don't want to meet my family. I have a nephew that is more strong-willed than you'll ever know. You think I'm tough? You think I'm doing this and I'm okay? You don't want to see this young man. My family, the support system is crazy. That's what sustained me. Family.
name is Shifra, and I'm really in awe of you. I don't know you very well, but I've always had just such a very, very good feeling about you. And I'm so touched by this particular forum because I think the problem, it would be easy to say it's just those people over there who did this, those bad people over there. I grew up in this society. I grew up in a town called Marblehead, okay? And what I want to say is that while that town is very rich and there are many, many privileges that I'm grateful for, in many ways it's very poor. And I have to say that I say this with love for everyone here, everyone. Please don't think I don't love you all. But there's a tremendous poverty. There is not that kind of unity. And the reason that a lot of us, I can only speak for myself, are so afraid is because I grew up in a home where I never knew if I was going to live or die. I never knew because there was so much violence. And I can tell you, you can say that's just me, but that was most of the homes in that neighborhood. Okay, Marblehead, top of the world. So part of the reason that I think that so many people are afraid to speak up is because we've been crushed down. We've been crushed down by our families who have crushed us down because they were crushed down. And so I have that fear inside of me. And I would love to have that kind of unity. I have there have been a few times in my life where I've had it, but I've never really known it. And so I just, I'm really in awe of the kind of family that you have. And I'm horrified by how much integrity that you have, your ability to own your mistakes in your life. I don't think I've done quite as well with that. I'm trying, but just to have that integrity and to go in there with so much of a desire to serve and yet to be treated that way, that's really unconscionable, you know? So I think it's not just, we can point, you know, it's easy. I mean, look at the president, you know, we can point all day long, but it's not, it's in all of us. And I don't think it's so much, I want to say this necessarily, it's people being bad, it's people being afraid and out of that fear doing terrible, horrible, monstrous things. It's inside of all of us. So I would like for this town, you know, I live here, I don't feel very at home in this town. I don't. It's not about me, just in general. Is this like a warm, welcoming kind of place? I'm not seeing it. So I have to try to be that change. And maybe together we can be that change. And so that this doesn't happen to Gerald, so this doesn't happen to this man here. And I can tell you there's a lot of other people that are not in this room, a lot of other black people whose names I cannot mention, and a lot of women who have had the same experience, some of the best people that I know, some of the kindest people, people who welcomed me when nobody else welcomed me. I'm Jewish, I don't feel welcome that much in the Jewish community, I gotta be honest. I'm not the easiest person, I'll tell you right now, but more welcoming to me than a lot of people I've known. So maybe we have to look inside of us. This will make us all better inside if we stand up for somebody like this and all the other people. It'll make us all better inside, and we're all afraid, so we can all encourage each other. Because now, if you look around what's happening, it's everywhere. It starts with, you know, I don't care, oh, it's the Jews, I don't care. Oh, I don't care, it's those goddamn homosexuals. Well, I'm one of those homosexuals, so hey, you know, oh, we don't care, but it will be all of us because we're all really, truly united. We're all one. All of us are one. We only think it's you over there. It's all of us. So that's all I have to say, just day by day, let's try to stand up and do what's right. And it's a daily struggle. And I make mistakes all the time, and I'm so honored that you stood up. And the fact that you talk this way, because I grew up in this country, and I would be lying if I said I didn't have fear of black people, because you're told it every single day of your life. So when you get to see, oh my God, this is what I'm afraid of. So it took a lot of bravery and a lot of courage. And it's okay to acknowledge you're afraid, but don't let your fear stop you in your tracks. Don't let it stop you. Even if you're afraid, keep going forward. Don't let it stop you. Thank you.
Wait. Do me a favor. I'm gonna do something I used to do for my children, okay? I don't know you.
Okay.
I want you to come in, okay? I have been through a lot myself, okay? I tell my children to release that ugly energy. I gotta lie. Take it from me, okay?
Yeah.
Stay positive.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah.
Don't fall off the edge. Okay?
I just want to take a second, if I can. Samuel, just raise your hand, please. Scott, raise your hand. Mariella, you guys met her, okay? Regina, Cece, Larry. Just a little. It took us to put this together. Be surprised. The cookies, the water. Big here taping it. Thank you very much, Big.
You're welcome.
Okay, but Savianis, but it took a group to put this together. It didn't just happen. I want to thank those people that I just recognized for. I'm not going to forget my homeboy. Okay, right from the hood. Cruz, right here. Okay, thank you, Cruz.
Are there any more questions?
Any other questions?
Anybody else? Okay.
Hi. So a lot of the narrative today was focused more on older generations and, think about your kids. And, I'm 19, so still pretty much a kid myself. So it's easier for me to think about myself. So what would you have to say to people that are younger and living in America? And I live in Brookline right now, so living in Brookline and having to deal with the racial climate right now today and staying positive, because it's really easy to kind of get stuck in the negative, and you have a very positive mindset and you focus more on how am I going to change this rather than feeling a sense of resentment towards the things that have happened to you.
When I was younger, we would have a problem. The lieutenant and I would have a problem. You have a long way to go. Do not, at any point, change your focus, okay? Every time you run into a situation, a racial situation, use it as a learning or a teaching situation, okay? You cannot combat anger and hatred with anger and hatred. It's hard when you get bombarded with those things. But teach yourself to smile. Teach yourself to show them something different. Like that lady said, all she ever knew was negative. The moment you show them negative, you prove them right. It's your generation that's going to change a lot. It's your generation that's going to push it to where it needs to go. I had people before me that did what I'm doing on a larger scale. All I did was read, study, learn. I didn't go through half the stuff that Martin Luther King went through. You understand? I didn't go half the stuff that they went through. So why to complain? Use what I'm showing as a springboard to take it further, okay? It's not easy. It's not easy. First time you rode a bike, right? Did you fall? Fell, right? Can you ride a bike? It's because you can give up, right? And you probably, maybe it didn't happen with you, but we used to have these pedals that was metal. If your foot slipped, it hit your shin. And you would get so angry. But you learn how to ride that bike. Keep making things better. It's not going to be easy. But I look forward to people, young adults like you, to make that change. Okay?
Come in.
Again, it's a different question. My sense.
One second.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. My belief is that this should not be confined to a little room in a library and ended. Would you give permission, for example, for this, which I think has been videoed in entirety, and recorded, to be made public, to be made available to the world?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, yes, of course. I mean, why not?
Thank you.
I definitely want that to happen. And let me ask something of you.
Please.
Where did you say you were a town meeting member?
Yep.
You are?
Yep.
You sure?
I'm damn sure.
You're positive, right?
Yes, I'm positive. Sure.
Take that back to the other town meeting members. Take that back to every single one of them who is not here.
Yes.
You know why?
They should be ashamed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take it back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
That answers in part my question, but I'm asking a larger one. It seems to me that this is a very important conversation that we are having. And it is chiefly the result of who you are and how you say what you say. And it's totally engrossing. I mean, is it not? Yeah? It's not just informational, it's engrossing. And I think that this should be on public television.
It is.
No, I don't mean local. I mean, I'm looking behind you, Bob. No?
Well, no, I'm no longer with public television.
I really not.
I can't speak for them.
All right.
But I agree it should be.
I think efforts could be made, that's right. And you're willing?
Yes, of course I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hate to speak twice, I apologize. I know I've rented this room so many years, 13, 14 times that I ran a program, so I know we're coming to the end of when we need to start to clean up so that the maintenance people can close up by 9. So I think they usually want us up by 8:30. I just want to summarize something that I do know hardship when you try to do the right thing in this town and you're up against vested interests that gain. But the person in this room that completes what we need doing is Brooks Ames, and Brooks has taken a lot of heat. Thank you, Brooks, for everything. There are some spiritual people and religious people in this room, and I'd like to think I'm one of them. Ecclesiastics 1 through 11, there's a time for everything, a season for everything. And I'm very hopeful that this is the season for finding the kind of justice that needs to be found for everyone in this room, the women who feel oppressed, the people who have unpopular decisions, for race. There's so many things that need to be addressed. And we all need to feel included because we're all are included, whether or not they like it. So this is the season, and thank you very much.
If there is no more, or there are no more questions, I will hand the microphone to the speakers.
Please take the cookies home. I don't want to carry them out. Bye-bye.
Or save one for me, save one cookie for me. We can save a cookie for me. Anyway, thank you very much for coming tonight. And just use Gerald Alston as a guide to what can be. Okay, it's about struggle. Okay, and this is 10 years. 10 years of struggle. We've got a little bit of ways to go, but I think that we can win. And the winning is going to come to your children, or to our children, to this town. There was at least for the town meeting members, someone, I think it was Mike Hoffman, that sent a piece from the Washington Post about early childhood education. Does anybody remember that? It came the other day. And it started off by saying, Brookline is a liberal community. And I said, really?
It's a facade.
Okay, all right. But let's really, let's make this community what we think it should be. Let's make it work for all of us, for all of our children. All right? I got involved in political action in Brookline because they tried to destroy my son. That's what pricked me getting involved in social action in Brookline. I'm paying taxes so that you can destroy my son. It doesn't, all right? Let's make sure that this town works for everyone. And if you don't, if you're not working in that direction, all right, you're doing something wrong. And I think it was Marvin Gaye that said, you're lying. All right? You're lying to God because you tell him a lie. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.